Good morning, West Highland Way, day 4. I'm in a lovely secluded spot in the Ewich forest, part of a forestry plantation. Odd thing happened last night, about 9:15. I believe some fireworks were going off. Either some people camping other side of the ridge. I don't think there's a village nearby, but it could have been there. I didn't see any of the bursts. I just saw the lights flashing in the sky. Not sure what they could have been celebrating, but there you go. I'm in a hollow with steep hillsides, both sides of this burn back here. So it is a little bit colder here. We're going to start with the fleece, but this will be coming off fairly soon. So we're going to head out today, and I would like to find the remains of St. Fillan's Church. We'll get on to Tindrum and points north. Okay? Okay, I'll be leaving these woods soon, so I want to make sure I got a little bit more footage before I get out to more open areas. It's warmed up considerably since leaving that hollow. I made a pretty quick exit from there. It was not terrible, but a little bit cooler than I would have liked. But it was a spot that was close to a good source of water. It was also made for a good night of sleeping under a warm down quilt. This is what remains of St. Fillan's Priory, built originally in the 13th century, early 14th century, received an endowment from Robert the Bruce. An important site at the time. There's a spring nearby and it was considered a healing spring. And it was divided, one side male, one side female, and apparently the process was you go in the spring, wet, pick up stones, bring them back to the altar in the priory, and then someone would tie you to the altar. If you escaped on your own, I don't know, within a time limit maybe, 24 hours, 48 hours, I don't know. If you escaped from the altar, then it was determined you were healing. If you did not, if you had to be untied, then you started that process over again, back in the cold water, pick up stones, back to the altar, which honestly does not sound like a good protocol for people who are ill. This is the Kirkton burial ground near St. Fillan's Priory, used primarily from the 18th to the early 20th century. There are 4 medieval slabs here. I'm not certain if they're still here or if they've been moved to a museum. Okay, this might be one of those medieval slabs. I'm going to see if I can determine that later. Early morning sunshine on the Highlands. Okay, I'm entering Tindrum, and as this sign explains here, whereas most of the mining in Scotland was down in the lowlands, there was some lead mining up here, and Tindrum was the center of that. Long been closed. The sign goes on to explain that because the environmental concerns were not the same when it was going on, nothing has really grown here, all poisoned ground. In Milngavie, the night before I started on this trail, I was reading an older article about a gold mine here in Tindrum. And it's been established that there's still a good amount of gold left in there, and it's more pure quality than they had originally thought. However, the logistics and the cost of getting it started have been problematic, and right now it's on hold. Alright, it's 11 a.m. I've been going 3 hours. I usually take my first break 2.5 hours after starting, but I want to get over this the ridge and the hill that I'm on to get a better view of Buccleuch of Moor, approaching Glencoe. The weather's been beautiful. A chap I talked to yesterday said there's a high pressure system off of Scandinavia keeping it stable, kind of similar to a high pressure system off of Vancouver Island keeping weather stable in Seattle. Obviously I'm north of Tindrum. My legs are doing fine. My shoulder's a little sore from the backpack, but that's going to be a matter of just making sure I maintain proper posture. So I'm going to finish my breakfast, hydrate, and be on my way. Well, I wonder if that's Bidet and Numbian. My topo maps don't cover that part of Glencoe, just the part that the West Highland Way goes through. Anyway, you could get a sense of the ancient caldera that formed Glencoe. It resembles Molokini if it was mostly submerged in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Okay, I am behind the bridge of Orchy Hotel and near the bridge of Orchy. So the name of the bridge, obviously, but also the name of the village. Originally, this was built, and some of the military roads were built soon after the Second Jacobite Uprising, 1745, 1746. They were really done to finally subjugate the clans and conquer the Highlands. And also, it really was the beginning of Ordnance Survey, the OS maps. General Roy, no relation to Rob Roy, came around with a team and really navigated through the lands and surveyed. They just had to get a better sense of what the lands were if they were going to more effectively control it. And it is just about 1 o'clock, so a good time for my obligatory half-hour rest. Take off the shoes, let everything air out a bit, have some of my lunch and hydrate. This is the view as I'm approaching Inverurie. Or in the general area of the Rannoch Moor, although I think the West Highland Way takes you to the west of it, but I think this is a good example of what it's like. Rannoch Moor is just a vast boggy wasteland. After the Battle of Culloden in 1746, many of the clan regiments broke up and soldiers had to flee, and there were many that had to flee across the Rannoch Moor. There's a famous painting, disbanded by John Petty, And that painting has been at my parents' house on the wall, the house I grew up in. Actually, all my life, I think it's still there. It's a stylized depiction of a Klansman after the Battle of Culloden, but with that dramatic that dramatic imagery, what young boy couldn't think of an adventure when they see it every day? Rannoch Moor was the center of one of the glaciers 10,000, 11,000 years ago. I think the highest and heaviest part, that's why it was so low. On some of those hillsides, you might see some of the glaciation on there. Rannoch Moor is actually rising a little bit each year because of that. It was so depressed and pushed down because of all the weight of the glaciers that over the last 11,000 years it's been rising a few millimeters each year. Whereas Cornwall, way to the south of England, and Shetland are sinking a little bit each year. All right, see my schedule here back in my maps. Today's gear talk is on first aid and safety. I'm running out of light here, so I think what I'll do is I will actually film that at home, and when I am back home in a couple of weeks, I'll just insert it here. I think that should be okay. Right. Now, this is first aid and safety, so parts of this is going to be a bit pedantic, but this is day 4. And if you've watched this far, then you're the type of person who is patient and is willing to sit through just about anything I throw up. So I do appreciate that. An important topic, particularly when I'm out here on the moss all by myself with no one and no shelter around. When I'm on the trail, there are surprises that I like. It's coming across a herd of wild goats, climbing the top of a hill, and a possibly stunning vista opens before me. Hearing stags bugling in the distance. Those are the types of things that keep me coming back. And then some of those surprises that I don't want to come across. I suppose having that feeling all of a sudden that I haven't seen a waymark for a while, I don't have maps, I'm not sure where I am. I don't like that. Or I didn't bring water treatment and I drank some of the water a few hours later. Surprise. Don't want those. Most surprises, though, I do not want, and I certainly don't want them to result as a matter of me being unprepared for something I should have been prepared for. Now, as far as first aid, I've taken a wilderness first aid training, an 18-hour training with the Wilderness Medicine Institute. And it is basic first aid. It covered a large range of topics, cuts, falls, concussions, broken bones, hypothermia, altitude sickness, struck by lightning, and so on. And during that training, participated both as participant, as victim and responder in a number of scenarios. And I thought that was a real strength of the course. Now, as I mentioned, there is a large range of topics, and there's no way you're going to remember everything at the end of it, but I did walk away with a number of protocols, flowcharts really, for how do I quickly assess a situation for safety, how do I quickly assess a person, as far as injury that may be immediately visible and those that might not be as visible. How do I evaluate as far as the need for evacuation, and can the person self-evacuate? Will they need assistance to evacuate, or do we need to call somebody in? Now, it's like any college 101 course. There's too much information to master at once, but you're exposed to that information, and as you go on to other courses, you're going to start to master a lot of this. I'm glad I did that. I felt much more confident out on the trail after I had done that, and I certainly would recommend looking into that. Now I'm going to briefly go over some of the stuff that I bring for safety and first aid. If you do have any questions or want information, feel free just to comment on it. Let me just grab out of this first bag, and this is basically the bag I bring several things in it. And essentially all my first aid stuff is going to be in here. I honestly do not bring a whole lot. The first thing I pull out, well, some sunscreen. Even in Scotland, you may have a beautiful week of days, lots of sun. So important to have some sunscreen. Leukotape, which I have prepared beforehand, into just single unit pieces from it. The Leukotape comes in a roll. I don't need to bring the entire thing because this lasts. Tincture of benzoin, a very small amount is all that's needed. This is one of the things that's going to help Leukotape and bandages stay on. Tincture of benzoin I'll bring with the bandages. I did skin my knee slightly when I was around Loch Lomond, and this is a difficult area to have a band-aid on. It tends to fall off because of the constant movement. With the tincture of benzoin, I got a full 24 hours out of it before it started to come loose. I don't bring much as far as medicine. Here's some Imodium. I ended up not needing it. Here is some Advil. I didn't need any of that either. I do bring some Purell in case I quickly have to clean something. This is just insect repellent there. I should have some wound closure strips. If there is a larger cut, it is going to be good to have these, and this is one of the things you'd probably want to find out about and learn how to use and apply. And there's really not a whole lot more. I got a pair of gloves, latex gloves in there, and that's about it for this trip. Now keep in mind with this trip as well that this is a well-maintained trail, and I knew what villages I'd be passing through, so there were some things that I didn't bring. Okay. Other things in this bag, well, I happen to have a aqua mirror in here at this point. I often will keep this one of the pouches in my pack because I use this a lot. This is just floss. Floss can be used sometimes if you need to thread something, stitch something up. You can use that. Toothpaste, toothbrush in there. I've got a little bit of duct tape, not a whole lot. There's a little thing of foot balm. This is for the foot care. And then, as far as a knife, I've never needed anything but a simple Swiss Army knife. And this is my flashlight or torch, as they would say here. The little Petzl E-Light, super light, but plenty bright enough for what I need. Okay. Now, even with trails I'm familiar with, I've just gotten in the habit of always having good topo maps. These are Ordnance Survey OS maps because I'm here in Scotland. I do have an annual membership for this, so what I'm able to do is just make the maps that I want, just highlight the areas that I want, basically 1 to 24,000. Now I can then do this online, and then I just order it, I just forward it to FedEx, the online print shop, and this costs me, this one's about $1.24 for this one. You can do it two-sided at FedEx, and I believe it's something like $1.75 if you do two-sided. I knew I was going to be writing a lot of notes on the back, so I did them all one-sided. And in this case, with the West Highland Way, the 96 miles, I did 13 maps altogether is what I needed. And even with that, I mean, I got exactly what I wanted as far as the West Highland Way, and at $1.24 over 13, let's call it $17 or something is what it costs for that. The majority of maps, what I'm not using that day, I keep in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, just deep in my pack. And I have another gallon-sized Ziploc bag with a pen in case I need to write any notes, or if someone's injured, I'm going to want to take a couple readings for stats for them. The ones I'm using during the day, I'll put in this Ziploc bag, and this goes into that top lid I have on my pack. Watch is good to have, just so you know the time. I mean, one of the things with safety, you should know when sunrise and particularly sunset is coming. I have all those times listed on the back of the maps, and an hour and a half before sunset is coming, which for the most part was 5 p.m. each day. That's when I know I need to start keeping my eye out for a campsite at some point. Also, if you have to do some vitals for someone, you need 15 seconds of a pulse or something, it's good to have a watch with a second hand here. And I think I've mentioned this before, the InReach Explorer. This is a satellite messenger. You cannot do voice over it, but you can do two-way text on this. There's also a GPS because this is the Explorer version. This would not be my choice for standalone GPS, but I liked having that because when I send a text, just tell people back home, hey, I'm setting up camp here, it just sends the GPS link, and they can just touch that, and it takes them right to Google Maps probably, and they can see exactly where I am. And I think I'm probably like a lot of people who have this, that this is probably more for people back home than it is for me. But you know, if I'm out for 7 days and I'm traveling solo, people are going to want to know where I am, and so I think the cost is justified for something like this. Okay, so it's gear talk. First aid and safety, an important topic. I know I went through fairly quickly in my typical rambling style, but if you have any questions or comments on it, please feel free to go ahead and ask that.
Okay, worst segment of the day. Another day of many miles, and as the day went on, I just needed things to motivate me. And eventually the Magnum PI theme song popped in my head. You know, that frenetic pounding guitar makes you want to drive Ferraris and fly helicopters. But the best TV theme song ever. Did you know, though, that that was not the original one? An old, probably VHS copy I saw had in the first season, just the first few episodes, maybe 5 or 6. There was this fluffy, airy, effervescent acoustic guitar with no real melody. It's about the worst TV theme song ever made. I believe it was played over the same video sequence. Streaming on TV like Hulu, they've changed it all to the theme that we all know. You have to find an old copy to find it, or somebody's probably posted it on YouTube. But funny how it went from about the worst TV theme song to one of the best TV theme songs. And as I was thinking about that, I said, do they always start with that theme? Because it is catchy. Or do they do any cold opens? So, cold open is when they start the story, kind of get you hooked into it and want to continue watching. Then they do the title. Kind of like CSI. There's some crime with some unknown perpetrator. CSI team starts to come in, do a little bit of investigating, and then Grissom eventually says something witty, and it cuts to the Who and their title sequence. I think Magnum PI just started with their title sequence. But anyways, cold open was on my mind, so I think what I'll do for today, if I remember when I'm putting this together in a few weeks, I'll start today's episode with a cold open. Okay, West Highland Way, day 4 wrap-up. Another great day. It was a long day, tiring day, but a great day. Saw St. Fillan's Priory, saw the bridge of Orchy, but today was a lot of just enjoying the scenery of the Highlands. The great news is that I am well north of Inverrowin with this. So this is again the 4th night, and I'm approximately 2/3 of the way through the trail. I don't know the exact mile marker, but I'm just going to say 66 miles. That makes the math easy because it means there's 30 miles left to do. And 30 miles would be about 48 kilometers. And I have 3 days to do that, which is why it's great news. What that means over 3 days, 30 miles, I just have to average I have to average 10 miles a day, 16 kilometers a day. To put that in perspective, I've been averaging probably just over 16 miles per day up to this point, so I can slow things down a bit. I think one of the things I'll do, the midday rest will be a bit longer, and I will probably be rinsing, when I come by some stream or something, rinse my shirts or something, because honestly, things are a bit ripe right now. Honestly, I was walking by some sheep and some cattle. They were giving me the stink eye. And yeah, so I can't show it right now. I'm too tired. I'm ecstatic. What I'm going to do is set up my duo-mid, get dinner started, and then I'm going to look at my maps and see what do I plan for. There's only 2 more campsites, and what will be my 10 miles or variations of for the rest of these 3 days. So, like I said, it was a great day. So that's it. End of day 4. Thanks for watching.
Mm.